Stay tuned to hear about Kim's latest trip to the Orlando theme parks. Welcome to Vacation Mavens, the podcast that brings you travel inspiration and practical tips from two moms who know how to plan the perfect trip.
I'm Tamara from Your Time to Fly.
And I'm Kim from Stuffed Suitcase. With over 40 years of travel experience between us, we're here to share our favorite destinations from road trips to cruising, theme parks, and European adventures.
Whether you're planning a family vacation or a mom getaway, we have the tips and tricks to make memories that will last a lifetime. So, Kim, I'm glad that you had a chance to get away with both of your girls this summer, because I know you had something with Lizzie earlier in the year and then something with Mia. So you've had your one-on-one trips, but
yeah,
been 2 years since you were in Orlando with the girls?
Yeah, exactly 2 years. That was the trip that Lizzie had picked for her grad trip. So it was exactly 2 years, end of August of 2022 and now end of August of 2024.
I'm just amazed that you went end of August with your non-heat loving girls and then you went back end of August with your non-heat loving girls. How did that work out?
I feel like in 2022, we didn't recognize the heat as much or something. I don't know. It definitely affected us a little more this time. And maybe it's also just because we felt like the crowds were a bit heavier sometimes in different ways, more so at Universal on the weekends. So that's a big part of it. But yeah, we did survive it. I think having teens helps because they're willing to get up early and do the rope drop stuff. And then we can take a good midday break and cool off a bit and then go back. But it's something to consider because the other thing that happens is it's not just about the heat in Florida in August. It's also about the afternoon rainstorms. Yeah. So our first year we went every single day. There was like a 2 p.m., 3 p.m. rainstorm, pouring, drenching rain, which in Seattle, we're not used to that, but it is warm rain at least. Yeah. And so this year I went fully expecting it again. We brought ponchos every time. But this time we got so lucky that it would always threaten storms, but we only had one day that we got really dumped on and we just headed out of the parks and back to the hotel room.
The first time I took Hannah to Disney World, she was 3 and it was in September and she was still scared of everything. And we were standing in front of the castle watching this show, which first started off happy. And then one of the mean witches comes out and she's just, I forget what she said, but she kind of cackles and she says this line. At the same time, thunder roars and it starts pouring down on us. And we were running for cover and she's crying hysterically. And I'm like, great, Disney.
Yeah, you're like, this is happy. Yeah. The thunderstorms are definitely something. The other part where one day we went back early and we were like, we'll do a pool day. Then if there's lightning within the 1 mile, they close everything down. They clear the pool out. And then you have to sit there and there can't be another lightning strike for 30 minutes or whatever. And that happens with the rides too. I will say Universal Orlando is a little more, most of their rides are indoor. So they're a little more protected against that.
That's true.
Whereas Disney World has a lot more of the outdoor stuff. So they maybe have a little bit more, they're a little more affected that way. But yeah, so that's another part to consider if you are planning a trip when it is those afternoon or thunderstorm season in Orlando, is that give yourself some time where you're not just one day and then rides are closed and you never get back on it or something.
Yeah. I know one time we were at Volcano Bay, the water park, and it started lightning. And so we were hiding out under some overhang.
Right.
But you're trying to stay dry and you're just like, is it going to stop? Should I stay? And at one point we're like, let's just leave. And we ended up going back to the hotel. We went once in June. I took Hannah and a friend, and it was similar. We actually got quite a bit of afternoon rain, and there are some really cool places. I know you probably have a post like this too, but I have a post about other Orlando attractions because we went to a lot. They do have a lot of indoor things, but it just stinks if you've already paid for your ticket.
Yeah. So that's just something to keep in mind, but we knew that going into it and we're ready to roll with it. And the nice thing is we have been to both parks so often on both coasts. We definitely have a good feel for the rides and stuff. So it's not like it's our once in a lifetime trip that's going to be affected. Yeah.
It's been a couple of years. What was new? At least maybe when I break it down by park, you want to start with Disney?
Yeah, let's start. So we started our trip at Disney World. I've learned finally I'm not saving the $50 on the red-eye flights anymore. We just book the cross-country daytime flight and get in at 5 p.m. and I just pay for the extra hotel for a day because those red-eyes just not happening anymore.
Oh, I couldn't do a red-eye and then go to a theme park?
That's what we used to do. That's what we used to do because you'd save money on not having to book a hotel. And then But anyway, so I finally am past that part. But yeah, so I will say that what's new for us at Disney World was the Tron ride, which I actually got to take advantage of when I was down there with friends for a conference. But even newer is the Tiana ride, which is actually the makeover of Splash. So it's been Splash Mountain was made over to be Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And so it's basically essentially the same ride, but all of the theming and everything has been completely gutted and redesigned.
So
and
this
it's really well done.
It's like it's not really a flume. It's more like a larger raft, right? Where you like explain what it is.
I have to remember now because you just said that. And I'm like, because the ride vehicles are different at Disneyland versus Disney World. I'm trying to remember which one. One of them is single person go, and it's like a flume ride in a way. And so you're in a log and you're going through the story. And so it's just like a log ride at most places. And then I do think it is the Disney World ride where it's 2x2.
I think so. Because
when I feel wider like vehicle.
When I've stood and watched Splash Mountain, since I hate drops and I don't go on roller coasters.
Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's correct, that it's Disney World is the 2x2. Because I remember one of us, I think Lizzie got soaked. She was by herself. She got more soaked than me and I did or something. I can't remember. But yeah, so I definitely wore a poncho on that one. It is, I will say the drop on it is, it can be startling. It's fun.
That's why I hold the bags.
Yeah. Yeah, those were the two kind of new things for us. I'm trying to think.
What's Tron like? Else. Is that a roller coaster? Is that like an individual? Are you riding like on a motorcycle type?
Yeah. So it is a roller coaster, but you do sit in it like an Avatar-ish type because it almost gets uncomfortable. You straddle the bike and then a back lock mechanism comes up behind you and your shins are locked into place and then you're holding onto handlebars. So if that makes sense, you do feel like you're riding it, but it's a 2x2 vehicle. So you get on it. And the sad thing is the line is insane. The ride is fabulous, but it's done so fast. It's very short. And so just be ready for that. Like, it's amazing. It was a fun ride, but we all agree that it's way too short for as long as you spend waiting in line. But it's based on the Tron movies and stuff. So you get put on a team. I think we're on blue team or whatever. And while you're waiting in the waiting area, there's all the different colored teams. People are standing there. And so they really get you in the vibe of it. And it's really cool because you get put in this holding room where they talk to you and it's, you're going to be digitized into the world of Tron. And then all of a sudden, like this clear glass wall, like it becomes clear. It's like a glass wall and all of a sudden it becomes clear. And the ride right below, you're standing like over the track and all of a sudden one of the vehicles like launches and you're like, whoa. And then you go and get put in like a Space Mountain.
They've done such a better job about the whole like queuing, story building, like ever since Avatar and then all the Star Wars stuff, like it makes it such part of the experience.
Agreed. Yeah. So it helps like space out all that long wait. At least you feel like you're doing something a little bit for the extra 10 minutes. So that's pretty cool. But you get on it. They have free lockers there, which is something that Universal's great at that.
They are.
Disney hasn't been as good, but I think it's something they're starting to do. So you scan either your Magic Band or your park ticket and a free locker unlocks, and you have to put all your bags in it. They don't let you have anything. They do have a little, if you want to keep your phone on you, because you still have a little bit of a wait, they do have a little like pop-up sunglasses, glasses, eyeglass, or cell phone spot on the bike themselves. Cool. Almost like a wave runner. So it's a sealed area, a sealed compartment. So I thought that was really convenient because sometimes you're like, I don't want to get rid of all my stuff, or where do I put these glasses?
Yeah. And is the ride really like twisty turny, like drops and stuff, or?
There are drops and it's high speeds. Like it'll make your eyes water.
Oh, no thanks.
But it's not like, for me with motion sickness, it's not crazy spinny and stuff. You do go into a dark room and I noticed that I have to really watch, like they light up these gates, like you're passing through the gates, like gate 1, gate 2, like
so it's flashing.
Yeah. So it turns on. And as long as I keep my eye moving the direction of the track, I'm okay. I didn't have any motion sickness issues, but you definitely go fast. And I feel like when you stand down and you watch it, it feels way faster when you're on it than when you're looking at them go. So they do a good job either with like wind or something. It makes you feel like you're going super fast. So it's a lot of fun.
To you.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of fun for like theme park people.
Yeah.
So that was the big ride there. So I'll just go into this. The big thing about Disney World that's different is they're back to the old Max Pass system, but now they're calling it Lightning Lane, and they have Lightning Lane multi-experience and Lightning Lane single experience. And so you can buy the Lightning Lane multiple experience, and that's kind of like, It's a little bit like the Universal Express pass is with single use. And so what the Lightning Lane Multipass lets you do is you can request, so you can book 3 rides on your first day. And as soon as you tap into your first ride and use that pass to go into the Lightning Lane, which is supposed to be a faster wait than the standby lane, you are eligible to get another one then. So you can pick another ride. And that can be at another park as well. So you can try and stack them. So especially if you're park hopping, like with teens, we're able to like really hit rides and then move to another park. And we know the parks well, so we could really take advantage of it. I think weekday end of August was an amazing time to go because we were really able to take advantage of that. We hadn't bought it until the day before because I wasn't even thinking about it, that it had changed. And you definitely want to book early and pre-book your stuff if you can, like even a month before. If you're staying on site, you get a benefit to, you get a book first or early. And I would say Hollywood Studios is probably the one that's the hardest to get good times. Like us waiting the day before, we had no problem in all the other theme parks getting something for a 9 a.m. ride. And then so as soon as we tapped into that 9 a.m. ride, we could look for other rides throughout the day, like at 12 or 2 or so later in the day, we could go ride a few more rides, even at another park. But Hollywood Studios was like, oh, the first available is at 12:30, and we couldn't even get one for, I don't even remember what it was, but it might have been Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster or something like that. So just something to keep in mind, that that's another aspect of Disney that's a little annoying.
Yeah.
You have to really think about. So that's the multiple experience one. And then they have the single experience, which is what, like Tron, you can buy and pay. And those are not cheap. Like Rise of the Resistance for you, it's something like, I don't know, $20 a person.
Wow.
Or something.
And that's just to get your time slot.
Into it, exactly, to go into the Lightning Lane to avoid the big standby line.
So this is my frustration with Disney recently, is that it feels like you need a degree in it, right?
Yes.
And it feels nickel and dimed or like 100 and 1,000. I don't know. It just, to make the experience at all enjoyable, it's like you have to spend so much money, which means really like geared towards the people that can afford it, the people that have, and just so for so many people, like that is their ultimate family dream trip. And then it just becomes so hard to do it. And they're not experts.
Family of 6.
And they're not experts because they're doing this once. And it's just, gosh, you make it so confusing and complicated. And then you feel like, oh, you see these people, like they've got the inside track. They've got information I didn't have. It just creates this, I don't know. Like, it's sad that it's so confusing. I understand that it's like really helpful to manage the crowds and all of that. But it is a lot to figure out and do.
Yeah. And I will say one of the other big things, I agree with that 100%. We were happy that it worked for us. It was an extra, I think, of the 3 days we were in the parks, it was $50 to $70 each day for the 3 of us to have the multi-pass. And then we only did the paid pass, I think, for Tron once. And then we did, I don't remember what else we did on, I can't remember. But yeah, it adds up. Like when you're looking at that, and that was just 3 of us. But I agree. And then just buying that, so you spend the extra money on it, then you have to be managing it still.
Sure.
And it's, shoot, okay, I really want to go on that ride, but they're out of fast passes. And then later on, you're like, wait, now there's a fast pass available at 5, so I need to cancel this one and try and get that one. And it's just, I agree that it's become too complex. Whereas Universal, it's, you stay at a certain hotel, you get the passes for free, or you add on the pass. But I'll talk about that about Universal a little later, because I do think Disney's Lightning Lane experience, like what it grants you once you're in it, is better than the Universal's experience. So I will say that.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to talk about, 2 quick things before we move on to Universal, was one, another thing that Disney has gone through recently is they changed their disability access service. So if anybody used to use it in the past, they've really changed the accessibility of that to a lot of people's consternation. We used to qualify because both my girls have sensory issues, and especially Mia, they don't do well in large crowds for long periods of time with a lot of excess noise and stuff. And they have diagnoses, they have other facilities taken care of at school to help them with those things. However, Disney now has basically said, I'm reading between the lines based on our denial, is that if you're not going to be violent or super disruptive in the line, they will not make any accommodations for you.
I wonder if they just had too many
So-
people abusing it or something.
They totally did.
Yeah.
They totally did. People were making up stories left and right, but it's still like people who need it are not getting it. There's people who have like multiple sclerosis and stuff, and they're being denied, or like it's just different. So it is something to keep in mind that if you have used that in the past, or if you're counting on having that, it's changed quite a bit. Something to keep in mind. But so the other thing I wanted to mention about our trip at Disney World, my big tip is that if you're like you and me, Tamara, and you go a little bit of the nicer hotels, we were doing 3 nights. We actually did 4 nights because I refused to book the red eye. But if you are wanting to stay at one of the deluxe hotels on Disney property, so you get the early entry, you have the transportation all taken care of. We booked the Riviera, which has the Disney Skyliner access, which is really nice. You have to use buses for everything else, but the Skyliner gets you to Epcot and Hollywood Studios with it's like a little gondola thing. And we booked that with renting DVC, so the Disney Vacation Club. You can use sites to rent points. Some people can rent from friends, but for me, I just use this site that has been around for a long time. I've worked with them multiple times now. I love their process. I haven't had any issues, so I truly believe in them and use them myself. And it'll save you half on those deluxe resorts.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. And so we've done it twice now. We stayed at the Grand Floridian in 2022. And then now we've stayed at the Riviera, and both are deluxe resorts. Grand Floridian's on the monorail right there by Magic Kingdom. And then the Riviera is by Epcot and Hollywood Studios. And it's so nice because you're staying in these really nice hotels with nice pools and great customer service and everything, and just nice rooms. And you're getting it also just the crowds. I forget how much that matters, but it was so funny because Mia actually had a friend who was staying there at the Art of Animation, which is one of their value resorts. But I definitely think it's the most expensive value because it's the one that offers like suites for bigger families and stuff. And it is on the Skyliner as well. And so her friend was there right at the start of our trip. They were ending their trip. And so they met up one day, and Mia took the Skyliner over to see her and to say hi. And they were walking around the Art of Animation, and Mia came back and she's, "Mom, it's just so noisy and busy there." She said, so loud and chaotic. And so I think that you don't always think about that, but the number of people and the noise and the vibe of a place is very different at a deluxe resort versus the value. So if you can rent points and feel like you're basically paying what a moderate would cost, maybe it'll be worth it to you.
I will tell you, I've spent hours and hours in the last few days, like researching resorts in the Caribbean for a multi-generational trip for next year. And first of all, trying to find something that is nice, like luxury for my in-laws, that is not $1,000 a night, even in June, but yet is not huge and crazy and noisy and all that stuff. It is really hard to find that kind of sweet spot. So it's good, but it's something you need to think about because it definitely impacts your experience of a place. Like I was looking at one place and it was like, oh, they blast music by the pool and the lobby, and there's like a rooftop bar and everybody's lined up to get up there. I'm like, that's not my vibe. I don't want to be around that.
So that was something that stood out to us, but I feel like we're getting a little long, so I'll move on to Universal, which we stayed 2 nights at Universal Orlando. We actually stayed at the Lowe's Sapphire Falls, which I will say Universal Orlando did host us for this part of the trip. I had reached out to them, and my girls love Universal. So I was like, hey, can you guys help us arrange anything? And at first I wanted to stay at one of the Lowe's property that comes with the unlimited Universal Express passes. Yeah. But they were able to get us a spot at this one, which is considered they're more moderate. So it's just one step down from the higher end ones that come with those passes. But they did.
But it's above like the Cabana Bay.
But it's slightly above the Cabana Bay. Yeah. And in 2022, we stayed at the Adventura Hotel, which is one of the newer hotels, but it's not considered at the same level as the Sapphire Falls. So the nice thing about Sapphire Falls and also the Adventura where we stayed is they're in walking distance. Like it's not super, super close, but it definitely is doable walking distance to the parks, which is so big.
Yeah.
And then you also get the 1 hour early entry for one of the parks. It's because the parks open an hour difference when you use the early entry.
Got
it's
it.
just about where you
Got
want to
it.
go. But for us, it was mostly Hagrid's, which doesn't have the express passes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Velocicoaster kind of was one they wanted to do. So our first morning, we rope dropped hoping to get to Hagrid's, and they had closed it, like it was having mechanical issues. And that happened to us, the same thing in 2022. So it's weird. So that's happened twice to us now, each of our trips. So just keep that in mind.
Have you ever gotten to ride it like later?
Yeah. So then the second, no, not when, now later, it's still to this day is crazy hour and a half standby waits and stuff. We just said, forget it. We will do it. We'll try again tomorrow. And then worst case, we'll stand by on the second day if needed. But the next day it was up and running. And so they got to ride it, and it was awesome. So it's an amazing ride. It's a lot of fun. Not me. I'm a bag holder on that one. Not a good motion sickness ride. You do go backwards. So if you have motion sickness, that's not what you want to do. But yeah, so just keep in mind, you can, if you stay at the luxury hotels, you get those Universal Express passes. And the difference with that over versus the Disney World Lightning Lanes is you don't have to book times and stuff, which is huge. So you're not sitting there on your phone all the time going, oh, okay, what can I get now for, we've got to make it over to Toy Story by 12:10. You don't have to deal with that. You just
feels
go
less
to the
stressful.
line. It's so much less.
Do they still have some where you can join the virtual queue? Like the Jimmy Fallon one had the virtual queue.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Yep. I don't think they have anything like that, but Disney World does have that for the Tiana to get Tianas. And I think even Tron. Yeah. Tron and Tianas, you have to join the virtual queue and get a callback time.
Yeah.
And then once you get your callback time, they say at Disney World, it's about a 45-minute. They try to keep the standby wait at about 45 minutes. So we did that for Tron for my girls once. And yeah. So it was pretty good. But
you were saying like generally you like the Express Pass better than the Lightning Lane. You can go in and there's like an unlimited, right?
Yes.
And then so you want to
yeah. So if you want to go to Spider-Man 6 times, if you want to go to Mummy as many times as you want, that unlimited lets you do that. Some of the Express Passes aren't unlimited. So that's what the Lightning Lane experience is like at Disney World, where you just get to go in once. So if you really love a ride, that kind of hurts things, but at least Universal allows you the unlimited program. But I will say that the Lightning Lane experience at Disney World, they move you through fast. They're loading, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm guessing like 70% Lightning Lane to 30% standby. Whereas you go to Universal, and I feel like the standby line gets the better seats on the cars, and it's half. So they'll load half the car with standby, half the car with Lightning Lane, and then when everybody has the express passes are given out, like to everyone staying at the luxury hotels, they're given out to a lot of annual pass holders, and they make the annual passes so cheap at Universal Orlando these days that I really do feel like a lot of people had the express pass, and the loading, it would save you about we guessed and we estimated, we thought it would save you about 10 minutes off what the standby time was.
Oh, wow. So maybe not worth buying if you're not getting
it's hard to know.
Yeah. I know.
And I will say really quickly, we went on the weekend there. So it was a Friday and Saturday when we went. And I do think that there are a lot of locals who buy those Orlando ones or the Universals because they are cheaper maybe. Mm-hmm. And also just being the weekend, maybe there was more people traveling. So we're not sure how much that, definitely the load experience, I watched it. So I do know that the load experience is different between the two, like between Disney and Universal. But whether the number of people who had the Express Pass was inflated because of the weekend versus weekday, I'm not sure.
It's like I have for a couple more months status on Delta. And so I get to go in the Sky Priority lane when I'm like booking, when I'm checking a bag. But there's one agent, right?
Yes.
And then sometimes there's hardly anybody in the main line and they go faster because there's 4 agents. And I'm like, why am I in this line?
Yeah. I've been there with my Alaska status.
Yeah.
But the final thing I just want to mention, and then we can wrap out since we're a little long, is that I will say Universal Orlando. So I know Disney announced a bunch of things at D23 that they have coming to their theme parks. I know Disneyland's getting another ride in Marvel Adventures Campus. But I do know also that Disney World has a bunch of stuff they're bringing out. And Disney World is getting rid of, I'm blanking now. Like Tom Sawyer Island and the whole riverboat area, Mark Twain Riverboat, because they're making a Cars Land at Disney World.
Oh, that's fun.
So I don't know the dates on all of it. Nostalgic Disney people are really mad about it because they do not want to lose Tom Sawyer, like that Rivers of America. And it's like a very classic part of Magic Kingdom. So I know a lot of people are mad about that, but being a West Coaster, Cars Land is probably one of the best lands at Disneyland. Yeah. I think that'll be fun to see what they do there. So that's, go ahead.
Our friend Leslie, who has the Disney Deciphered podcast, she was just in Disney World, and she's the Disney geek to the level that I'm like, you're using jargon and like acronyms I can't even understand. But she had posted something from like the Hall of Presidents or whatever that's called.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, I think it's time to retire that one too. It's just like some things like it makes me think of like when back in the day when I had to take Hannah to Chuck E. Cheese for the birthday parties, and there was like the dusty old animatronic kind of thing. Yeah.
That now is like Five Nights at Freddy's. All the children were traumatized.
Right, but you go to, when I was in Disneyland with you, and we went to the Spider-Man ride, just so many of these rides are just like so mind-blowingly cool now that I'm like, it's time.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
I get some nostalgia, but I feel like you can keep that with the castle and the characters, but still make fun ride experiences.
It's a good argument. I agree. I agree in a lot of ways because I like new and like fresh. I'm not nostalgic like that. So that's my take. But the bigger news is that Universal Orlando in 2025 is launching a whole 4th theme park. So right now they have Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios, Volcano Bay, and now they're launching Epic Universe, which is going to be a whole new theme park. I'm really curious about how the transportation is going to work.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to just be shuttles, like some of the farther properties, because it is like our Uber driver, when you're coming from it's down there and it's not close to the other stuff. Like it's across the highway away. It's definitely not really close to the other parts, but
just one of the things that's nice about Universal now, it's like Disneyland in that, like you go out of City Walk, you walk to the other side and there you are at the other park, or you can take the Hogwarts Express. But so having to deal with shuttles, it makes it harder.
Yep. Yeah. So I think they're not encouraging park hopping with it. I think they really want you to be like, we're at this park, then you do the other stuff. So I'm not sure how it's going to work, but that land looks like it's going to be amazing. They're launching 2 new, I think they're both going to be the higher luxury premier hotels that just look fabulous, but the park itself is going to be amazing. They're going to have an How to Train Your Dragon land, which my girls are super excited to see. They're going to have a Ministry of Magic Harry Potter part of the land. I don't remember what else I could name it. I took pictures they have in the City Walk now. They have they're already selling merch, and they have a big diorama of what the new park's going to look like. So very exciting. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you're thinking about 2025, definitely be looking up dates and stuff like that so that you hit the timing right.
Makes me think we should probably do a 2025 trends episode towards the end of this year. Like some of the things that are coming in different places or the problems that there might be in certain places. So
I think that sounds fabulous.
Cool. Yeah. Anything to finish us up?
No, I think I went long enough. So everybody's always welcome. I'm still working on blog posts and stuff for at least definitely the Universal side of it. But if you have any questions, you can always shoot me a message and I'll help you as best I can. And happy to give links for the Disney Vacation Club point rental that I use, because I swear it's fabulous. So.
And you have an article about that, don't you?
I have an article about it. Yeah, I have an article about all the ways we saved money for our 2022 trip. Like I saved, I don't know, it was a massive amount, like thousands of dollars just doing little things. But of course it was a deluxe hotel. So you wouldn't see as much of a savings if you just did a budget hotel. But for us, it was a big savings and helped us have a good, nice trip.
Good. So we'll link to that in the show notes too. And in the meantime, I know I've got some travel coming up, and then you and I are going to see each other in
Istanbul,
not Constantinople.
I know. Exactly.
I'm going to be singing that song the whole time.
Ditto.
Cool. It was great to talk to you, and we'll catch up next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Talk to you soon.